At Microsoft, our mission is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. And today, that empowerment often starts with data, moving, connecting, and informing the choices we make. From the flights we catch, to the food we buy, to the buildings we work in, data is shaping our experiences in ways we don't always see. But when data is unified, governed, and ready for action, that's when it becomes meaningful. That's when it empowers. This is the role of Microsoft Fabric, a single platform that brings data together across systems, teams, and moments in time. It's the fabric that connects it all, helping organizations act faster, people make better decisions, and technology stay in step with life. This is what a day looks like when Fabric enables organizations in different industries to deliver vital services, and people are empowered to move forward. Data is everywhere, but when it's unified, governed, and ready for action, it empowers people, organizations, and the world to do more.
Please welcome to the stage Jessica Hawk, Corporate Vice President, Microsoft Data, AI, and Digital Applications.
Hi, guys. I dressed for the occasion. Good morning, everybody. I hope everyone had a wonderful day one. As we said yesterday, we're so excited to be here together. We recognize how busy everybody is, but we do feel so empowered by the community, the learning, and what we're all moving the industry forward together. But the question is, what exactly are we moving towards, right? Well, leaders are saying productivity must rise. Employees, we're out of time. We're out of energy. That gap cannot be closed with traditional approaches. So we think that a new kind of organization is emerging, one that is structured around on-demand intelligence and powered by hybrid teams of humans and agents working together. These companies scale faster, they operate with more agility, and they create value more quickly. And at Microsoft, we call them frontier firms. So what does being frontier mean? At its core, it's about being AI first in literally everything that you do. And there's a formula that is starting to emerge. It's Copilot plus agents, plus human ambition. Copilot, it's the everyday assistant. Agents are those digital colleagues that we're all very happy to have access to. But the most important point is the human ambition. This is where the magic really happens. And for anybody in this room who's been in enterprise IT for a decade or two, like myself, you know we've been chasing the breakdown of organizational silos for a very long time. But with this AI capability coming to forward now, we feel like we finally have a chance to break through and relitigate how business gets done in every single function in the organization. But to make all of this possible, we do have to go back to something that Arun said yesterday. This room knows it. Data and AI, it's a team sport, right? These apps and agents only work when they have the right data foundation, and this is where Microsoft Fabric and all of you come in. Fabric is operationalizing that data access that frontier firms require. It's got the unification of the data estate. This is so critical. OneLake is so central to everything that is important to Fabric. Why? Because you have access to your data wherever it lives, on-prem, in Azure, in any other cloud or any other data solution you choose to use, which means you can take advantage of that data for your AI transformation. Nobody has time to wait for the 2-year migration anymore, right, guys? Second, additional context to reason over. We announced amazing capabilities yesterday. Graph, a low-code, no-code way to really model how all this data is working together. And maps, geospatial information to add to the analytics that you're already doing. And then, probably most important, there is no permission to proceed with AI transformation unless you've got the security and governance foundation in place. And we announced amazing capabilities yesterday with Private Link for workspaces, customer-managed keys, and of course, that centralized governance solution that is grounded in responsible AI practices and GDPR. So, looking ahead to today, we're going to go deeper on databases and AI. So when we brought Fabric to market, you all will hopefully remember this in 23, fantastic unified analytics and business intelligence platform, right? Last year, we did something new. We brought transactional databases to Fabric. Why does it matter? First and foremost, no more need to take your apps data and then wire it up into your OLAP systems, right? So you get that out of the box and by design. But secondly, and perhaps more important in the AI era that we're all living through, is we've done great work to take Fabric and Foundry and integrate them together. So any data that you have in Fabric is automatically available for your teams and your organizations to go build AI apps and agents in Azure AI Foundry. So what does it all mean, guys? Faster time to value. We've been saying that for a while, right? I'm a marketer. I don't like to see that on copy. But it actually is true now. Why? Because we all, as a data and AI team, have a central place to work together. So there's so much benefit that comes from that. We also get lower costs and risk. We've got these zero copy patterns that are so important and solve an age-old problem of too much data being copied all over the place. And we have that built-in governance layer. But maybe the most important thing, and something that I think Arun did a great job of covering yesterday, we are so committed to the interoperability of the data ecosystem. We know you already have data systems in place. We want you to continue to be successful with those systems. So by design, Microsoft and Microsoft Fabric is built to work across the data ecosystem. It is central to everything that we do. OK, so they're going to tell me to get off the stage soon. 2 quick tips as somebody who sits with customers who are on the AI transformation journey quite a bit. The first one, this room will not be surprised by. Initially, ChatGPT busted out, and what happened? Everybody created their giant use case list across the whole organization. Massive steering committees were born. Now, pick 2 to 3 workflows and get all the way through, job done. As I like to joke, thank goodness ChatGPT came after the introduction of agile software development. And then second, agents are the new thing, right? Manage the agents the way you would manage an employee. What does that mean? Give it tasks, give it scope, give it jobs to be done. Know who the manager of that agent is and what the KPIs are that you're going to measure its output against. And probably most important, decide where human judgment has to stay in the loop. So, who's ready to become Frontier? With that, I'm going to introduce my friend, Shirish Tata. He is the CVP of Azure Databases. He's going to take you deep on everything. Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, I'm super thrilled to be here today. Good morning, beautiful city of Vienna. I'm Shirish Tata, Corporate Vice President for Databases. So, we've heard yesterday, if you had any doubts, Arun, Amir, and the gang basically showed that Fabric is undoubtedly the leader in the unified analytics platform space in the market. So what is my job? It's pretty simple. I'm gonna show that Fabric is more than that. It's evolving beyond unified analytics to becoming a unified data platform. So let's dive in. Well, as Jessica was talking about some of the core things about AI, so it's very true that there is a transformative sort of like inflection point here. Organizations across the globe are racing to harness this power, to streamline their operations, unlock insights, personalize sort of experiences at scale. Around 81% of the leaders tell us that they're going to incorporate GenAI frameworks, agentic applications, et cetera, in their strategy pretty soon, in the next 12 to 18 months. So that's a big bet, isn't it? Now, the problem is that AI succeeds not just with the quantity of the data, it's about the ability to handle the complexity. Different formats, different types, most importantly, both organizations, both analytics and transactions coming together. Those are the kinds of challenges that I don't think many of the organizations are, unfortunately, not equipped just right. See, the thing is that for AI to succeed, the organization should have the ability to handle the combination of operational databases, the transaction systems that run the business on a day-to-day basis, with that of analytics, the insights that drive the strategy for the longer term. The sad news is that these two systems are typically kept aside. And that's a problem for AI because it thrives on agility, speed, and having disparate systems is not good news for AI. So we're going to solve that in this session. How are we going to solve it? Well, I'm going to use this small framework here. This is really the strategy of how operational databases function. I'm from the operational side of the data business here. This is the OG of the data business. And this is the strategy here. Well, we always take care of our enterprise customers. We want to make sure that AI developer needs are really met. But in this session, I'm going to kick off talking about the last 2 parts. And what are these last 2 parts? we are thriving. We're basically really racing really fast to make sure that the time to insights for databases, just like the rest of the data, are significantly shrunk. And hence, we've introduced SaaS databases. We want to make sure that all of the data is integrated seamlessly in Fabric. And that's kind of really what I'm going to focus here. The reality is that our data landscape is changing dramatically. Right? We really can't have these siloed systems that we're used to in the past. That worked in the past. It doesn't work anymore. We really need systems that basically brings in both operations and transactions together. Why? Simple reason. AI can't succeed without that. It can't be working on piecemeal view of the data. It really needs the entirety, the full structure of the data. And Fabric is really the platform that's designed for that. Once again, that is because it has a platform where disparate data runtimes can work on the same data. So bringing in operational databases into Fabric, we thought it was so important that we put it right in the center of the Fabric stack. Bringing them in, we basically are going to solve this problem. Let's see how. Well, last year, we've already announced SQL databases coming into public preview in Fabric. We've also brought in Cosmos DB, and that's great news because you get best of the both worlds. You get the structure, resiliency, reliability of one of the world's best relational databases in the market in SQL, as well as the most differentiated, superior elasticity, high availability, RPO, RTO characteristics of Cosmos DB. And since both of them are built into Fabric, you get all of the analytics, AI, and the real-time insights really baked in without any extra copies, without any of the manual pipelines, ETLs, and none of that. And that's great news. Now, let me expand a little further on the rationale of bringing databases into Fabric. Fabric databases basically helps you manage your data at scale, and securely, and with AI integrated. With ease of deployment that we have for databases in Fabric, and if you haven't tried it, you should try it. It's a completely different experience, super easy, easy to get in, really easy to operate. Once you have these experiences, you really can go and focus on innovation. And security and governance are built deeply into it without any extra configuration. And since Fabric has AI baked in, all of the structured data, semi-structured, unstructured data can work seamlessly, and you get the power of all of the Fabric capabilities, such as real-time insights, intelligent query processing, and much more automatically. Right? And since we have shipped databases in Fabric, the way that our customers and our partners are embracing is heartwarming to us. It's just been amazing. The momentum is just clear. It's here. As you can see here, there's lots of customers who are already embracing, and our partners are working side by side to deploy real-world applications on a regular basis. So it thrills us. And some of the reasons as to why they're doing it includes things such as speed, flexibility, most importantly, integration across workloads. And that's really good because they can now accelerate their application development. Because remember, operational databases are ultimately about app developments while getting real-time insights. And yet they are enjoying it on a day-to-day basis, as you can see here, so we're really thrilled. When I talk about innovation, when all of the leaders here at Fabric talk about innovations, we really mean it. As Amir was showing it yesterday, and I just want to take a moment to reflect on this again, what we have done in a recent research from technical practitioners, we've seen that teams that use SQL databases in Fabric get this amazing benefit. They're around 71% faster, 63% effective, 83% more confident. Now, compared to any other traditional approaches of using databases otherwise. Now, these aren't some incremental improvements. These are breakthroughs. These are breakthroughs on innovation, productivity. These are deep innovations, right? Now, speaking of innovation, I'm really excited to spend a few minutes to talk about database mirroring. Now, you've seen a lot about database mirroring yesterday, but I want to talk about it, mirroring all up yesterday, but I want to spend a little bit time here grounding it in the context of databases. Now, the fact is that analytical data developers, and I'm sure a lot of you are analytical developers, they face a challenge because operational database changes are high-frequency updates. They come in really fast, and that's kind of the nature of OLTP systems. When you have such a high-frequency updates, it's harder to keep pace in terms of generating the insights. So you end up with custom pipelines, manual syncs, slowdowns. Those become the norm, and quite frankly, they hamper innovation quite a bit. This is where Fabric database mirroring changes the game. How does it do it? Well, let me define database mirroring for a minute. You know that, how it works in general broadly, but database mirroring is really a zero ETL approach. It brings the data from operational databases SQL Server on premises, Azure SQL, Cosmos DB, Postgres, you name it, right? It basically brings the data from the operational system continuously, seamlessly, in near real time, without any impact to your OLTP workloads. And that's super important. We're not impacting any of your OLTP workloads. Once that happens, there's a lot of unlock, guys. So what kind of unlocks? Number one, it reduces complexity. Well, you don't need any more custom pipelines. Two, it gives access to your developers, instant access to the freshest data. Once the data hits one lake, then the number of scenarios multiply. This is not just addition anymore. Multiply because all of the different data runtimes can easily access the same data. You could cross-join, basically really bring in different kinds of data sets. We've seen some amazing videos yesterday, demos yesterday, where we brought in different kinds like Oracle on-premises, Google Files, different kinds of S3 instances. You could bring in SQL databases and Cosmos DB. That's just amazing, right? And finally, it's really important, it maintains consistency. So your analytics and AI apps can work on the same freshest copy, just like your apps. And that's really cool. So that's a lot of value here. But what if we can do even more? Can we do even more than gathering real-time insights? Well, we can. It turns out that we can activate the data in real time. The fact is that analytics, in a traditional way, the data is basically transformed, collected, transformed, validated, and surfaced in dashboards. So that's great. So once the data is surfaced in dashboards, a business user takes a look at it, thinks about it, acts on it, perhaps in hours, sometimes in days, more frequently in days. Now, that's good, but it is slow. Now, in a world where operational demands and customer experiences are measured in seconds, slow isn't good enough. This is where Fabric, once again, changes the game. We call it reverse ETL. So what is reverse ETL? Well, instead of letting these insights stay static on the dashboards, Fabric basically enables you to push these curated analytics back into your operational systems, as you can see in the picture. Into your operational systems such as CRMs, ERP, marketing insights, fulfillments, you name it. So as soon as such an insight is generated, it can trigger a personalized email. You can adjust your inventory, update your customer records. Many such capabilities can come to life. So Fabric is effectively transforming your analytics from being a back-office reporting tool to becoming an active decision maker. And that's a big deal. Your data is being transformed to something that's just not just being looked at, but something that's acted upon. And that's a key insight. Your data is not just accessible, it's actionable. And that's very cool. So with these kinds of insights, I want to go in a little bit into the products. Let's start with SQL Database and Fabric. Now, we've already kept it in preview, and we are making a lot of innovations. In fact, we are thrilled to be announcing a lot of innovations here, including a lot of enterprise-grade capabilities. Things such as query editor, performance dashboards, VS Code's ton here. They're all designed to give you security, flexibility, developer productivity, and much more. So, I've been talking a lot about Fabric and databases. So let's switch gears from why to how. How both SQL Database and Cosmos DB can work together. So I'm going to invite some of my friends here, kick us off with some demos, which show really cool scenarios, which bring in both ETL, the mirroring part of it, as well as the reverse ETL part of it, so that as a business owner, you get a comprehensive view of data. So to do that, first off, I'm going to introduce Priya Sathi, the product leader for SQL, who's going to show all that magic in SQL.
Thank you, Suresh. Hey, folks, who's ready for some demos? So I'm excited to show you the latest capabilities of SQL Database and Fabric. But for today, I am pursuing the persona of a Java application developer. So Java has a coffee division, and we've moved our supply chain database from on-premise over to SQL Database and Fabric. There's a supply chain app, and logistics officers can use the supply chain app to manage product inventory and do replenishments. Now, there is a very simple reverse ETL process that is going to take curated analytics data from the lakehouse back into that supply chain database so that my logistics officers can make real-time decisions on replenishments. What used to be a completely error-prone process on-prem, now it takes a matter of minutes. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you some of these capabilities of how I built this. So first, let me talk about the SQL Database in Fabric and how Copilot is helping me as a developer. We added Copilot in SQL, and you had read-only mode. But now we have read and write mode with approval. What does this mean? Here, as a developer, after a large number of transactions have happened in the database, I seem to have performance issues. I'm asking Copilot to help me. Copilot gives me a bunch of options, but now I can ask Copilot with read-write mode with my approval to execute things in the database, which means Copilot can help modify the database, manage the database on my behalf, making my life super easier as a developer. The next thing I want to show you is really, I'm an enterprise developer, so I care about security, auditing, backups, all of these things to make promises in my application. So let's talk about some of these new capabilities for enterprise application development. We have SQL security. You guys are familiar with it. But now we're happy to bring to you auditing as well, SQL auditing, just like you have had in Azure SQL Database. One click, turn on audit logs. By default, we audit everything for you. But you know what? We know you want to audit sub-select of your events. You want to retain your audit logs. We give you the ability to infinitely retain these logs, use predicate expressions. You've done this in Azure SQL. You can do it in Fabric SQL. Another thing I care about as a developer is backup and restore. Backup, restore, important. If my database gets corrupt, I need the ability to restore my database. We do continuous backups, and we're happy to make the retention policy from 7 to up to 35 days. So if anything happens to your database, you can restore it pretty easily. I'm an application developer. So I need an interface that helps me write app code and database code. I want to create my tables and build my application at the same time. So let's talk about Visual Studio Code. Pretty popular tool. We love it. I love it. And MS SQL extension is one of my favorites. New improvements. Now you have the ability to connect and browse Fabric workspaces and artifacts. Here you see I'm connected. I can see my Java workspace. I pick a workspace, and I can also look at all of the SQL databases I have access to. Just connect to a SQL database, and right here you can see I can see all of my tables, my objects in the database. And guess what? I'm building my application. I can create a table, insert some rows, all of it easy. There's another thing. In VS Code, we also have agent mode. Because what is agent mode? More powerful than ask mode. It can do database tasks for you. And here in this example, I'm asking agent mode to help me analyze product and store distribution. Copilot Agent is actually giving me complete analysis. It's giving me the store distribution, but guess what? It's also giving me the query that it used to compute all of this. So I can run the query, verify the results directly. And one more thing with Fabric. Right here, what if I wanted a new database? Well, guess what? You can deploy a new SQL database in Fabric from right within Visual Studio Code. Right here, start a new deployment, provide my credentials, the workspace, the database name, and just like that, few seconds, a whole new SQL database in Fabric has been provisioned. So as an app developer, I write my .NET code, I modify my SQL database, all in just this one seamless experience. I talked about reverse ETL, and I want to show you how easy it is to set up reverse ETL as well. So Sirish talked about all the data getting curated in lakehouses, and that's happening in Java as well. My data scientists are doing that. Now, every lakehouse comes with a SQL Analytics endpoint. And I have access to the SQL Analytics endpoint where there's a few interesting views here. But there's an interesting view that I really care about, which has replenishment recommendations that I can send back to my logistics officers using the supply chain app. And all this view is doing is giving me the results of all that curation the data scientists have done. So what do I need to do? Back in the SQL database that I own, I just need to go create a simple table as this one here to hold the replenishment proposal. So that's written back into the database. Once I've set this table up, very simple, folks. All I have to do is set up a Dataflows Gen 2. We all love Dataflows Gen 2. And right here, you can see two simple things. The source of this Dataflows Gen 2 is that view from the SQL Analytics endpoint. And the destination is a table in the SQL database in Fabric. That's all I had to do. Data flows is going to continuously keep updating that replenishment proposal table. Let's go back to the SQL database. Let's look at this table. You can see the table's getting updated, and you see all these rows. Now, let me run a very simple query here to look at what exactly is landed back in the table. And you can see when I execute this query, looks like espresso beans are low. Well, actually kind of out of stock. And here's a recommendation that now my logistics officers using the supply chain app can use, order, and that's it, folks. So I've completely modernized Zava's supply chain operations with SQL database and Fabric. But now let's talk about Cosmos DB in Fabric. Now, Zava is also modernizing point-of-sale systems with Cosmos DB in Fabric and bringing analytics and operational data together seamlessly. And to show you this demo, I'd love to invite my colleague, Gary Hope, onto the stage.
Thank you, Priya. Great to be with you here all today. Let's jump right in and solve some of these challenges that Priya were talking about. Here we have the Zava sales transactions. These sales transactions are coming from their point-of-sale system. Each transaction is represented as a single JSON document that has embedded all the items that are sold on that transaction. As we configure this, we think about the container, and we make sure that this is configured for order scale, making sure provision throughput is available and scales as with the application. The account is configured for replication, ensuring that we've got data available at all the stores across the world. All that data is mirrored into Fabric. Here in Fabric Lakehouse, we can see that we have shortcuts to that mirrored data for both SQL and Cosmos DB. Having switched now to the analytical endpoint, we can have a look at and explore that transactional data in a little bit more detail. This query will break down what a transaction now looks like in this relational format. You can see a document is mapped to a row, and each of the base properties are mapped to columns. That item data is still in JSON format, but that's not a problem. We can use SQL's capability and the OpenJSON function to address that. Here we cross-apply that data, and we explode those array into an item row for each of those rows that are in that array. We can wrap that in a view, and then just use that as a normal table. Here we've got some analysis that combines store data from SQL with the data that's coming out of Cosmos DB. And if we have a look, we can see Vienna sales have spiked over the last couple of days. You guys, I think, like coffee. So if we do that again and now combine it with the replenishment data Priya was talking about earlier, we will see that there's some interesting insights here. The current stock is good, but the reorder points are too low based on this new increase in sales. These types of valuable insights are only available because we can combine data from these two operational systems in near real time using Fabric mirroring. Let's switch our attention now to the customer preferences. We want to make these customer preferences available to the retail systems at the point of sale. I'm going to start with some pre-prepared data, and this pre-prepared data we're going to then transform using that reverse ETL pattern. In this case, I'm going to use a Spark notebook. If you have a look here, we can see that the data, we've added some additional columns. Those facilitate faster lookup. All we do is configure the destination container, and we load that data into a data frame in that Spark notebook. And then we write it out using the Spark connector. That data then gets written out, in this case, into a Cosmos DB in Fabric container. And if we have a look at that data in the Cosmos DB in Fabric container, you can see the JSON data ready to be served to the application. If we switch now to the simulator, we can do a quick lookup of a membership number, and you can see that this membership lookup happens very quickly. A single request, low latency, low cost gets us the response that we need. I might also have some additional information. I know Shirish's registration number for his vehicle. Here we go. We caught him at going through the drive-thru at his last visit. We've gathered up all his preference data, And I'm sure he's going to appreciate next time he drives at that drive-through, he's going to be welcomed with, "Hey, hi, Shirish. Would you like a pop cake with your regular chamomile tea?" And with that, Shirish, if you're finished with your tea, back to you.
Thank you. I mean, chamomile tea? Chamomile, how many of you drink chamomile tea? Well, at least I could do something with the pop cakes. I could give it to my 7-year-old. All right, so well, I think this is the beauty of how we bring different systems, which are designed specifically for specific optimized workload, all together. And that doesn't happen if you don't have a unified data platform. And these aren't just some technical flows. I think of them as strategies, technical strategy patterns that you can really take it home, and you basically can build your applications on these things. And we've shown you how insights can be more than static, with reverse ETL and ETL mirroring coming in, et cetera. So I think it's time for us to go a little bit further and talk more than just data. The most important thing about operational databases is that the only purpose that they really rely on, they survive and they exist for, is to make sure that the applications, the operational applications, get everything that they need. And that's exactly where we're going next. So as we've seen in the demos so far and all the content, lots of applications require real-time data. They definitely require OLAP data as well. But a vast majority of the applications in the market and whatever operational applications that you're building, they need OLTP data. They need transactional systems. And when you basically think about operational systems, as we've shown in all the demos, you need both structured, semi-structured pieces from both SQL and Cosmos DB. And so you need a unified platform. So Fabric is effectively aiming to do exactly that. And your applications need more than just the data access. They certainly need to have integrations with things such as web APIs, custom hooks, and much more, so that the spectrum of applications, web, mobile, much more, they can all work together. And believe me, Fabric is really that platform that can bring all these pieces together. Well, you can think of the modern application development in these layers. The foundational data layer, we basically have all kinds of data, and we've seen already how Fabric kind of does all that stuff through mirroring, shortcut, and all these pieces, brings the world's data into a unified lake and kind of brings insights to life. By bringing in operational databases into one lake, right into the center, as I reminded, we basically have become the single cohesive source of truth for everything applications. The next stop is API layer. And this is where you see things such as agents, user-defined functions, GraphQLs, and we've had some really exciting announcements across the board in this space too. And this is the layer where we basically take the data from the foundational data layer and transform, validate, and basically manifest it in a way that the applications and agents can easily work with without too much of app burden. And finally, we complete the stack by connecting it to the applications. Data and apps need to work together, closing the loop between insights and actions. And Fabric does with a couple of really important principles. The number one thing, which I really love here, is that we want to meet the needs of our developers in their favorite tool chains and ecosystems. Things such as SSMS, GitHub, VS Code, and much more, so that they don't have to really move out and change their practices. Second, we have flexible APIs for both low-code, no-code, even pro-code developers, et cetera. And so we are investing deeply into things such as the way to really go coding with frameworks such as GraphQL, user-defined functions. We've seen lots of amazing examples yesterday. And finally, because Fabric has AI copilots built into the system, you can bring in relational, non-relational structures, semi-structures, whatever you may have, and build confidently your next-generational intelligent application. And that's a lot here. And so, to prove all of these things and to kind of show a great demo, we also have another retail scenario that Pam Lohud is going to come and show us today.
Great. Thanks, Shirish. All right. So let's continue with our Zava example. They've expanded their business, and they've added a B2B clothing division. And they've been experiencing stagnating sales and low customer satisfaction. So they took a look at their data in Fabric, and their data analysts determined that the root cause was shipping duration. Long shipping durations leads to low customer satisfaction. So let's see how Zava transformed their business by developing a new intelligent application natively in Fabric. In the legacy system, customers work with procurement managers who have Power BI dashboards that contain all the relevant customer information and order tracking systems. The orders are then packed and shipped by a fulfillment manager in the warehouse. But because the only connection between the fulfillment system and the procurement system is a long-running ETL process, the data is often stale, which can lead to like the long shipping times and problems with the orders. And when a problem fulfilling an order comes up in the warehouse, it involves a manual process with a lot of back and forth between the fulfillment manager and the procurement manager to try to figure out how they can fulfill this order with what's available in the warehouse. And this process can take days to sort out, which leads to those long shipping times. Zava decided to modernize their process using the new application development functionality in Fabric. With features like GraphQL API and user data functions, they were able to unify their procurement and fulfillment systems to create a seamless and efficient workflow that resulted in dramatically improved shipping times. So let's take a look at what they built. By moving the data for the fulfillment system directly into Fabric, they were able to eliminate that long-running ETL process, ensuring that procurement managers always have the most up-to-date data and ensuring and reducing the chances that an order will go through for an out-of-stock product. Access to the database is through a GraphQL API, and with just a few clicks, Fabric created all the code required to connect to the database through the GraphQL endpoint. And user data functions were used to create a new override process so that fulfillment managers can create a request for an override, and procurement managers can then view the details and approve those overrides directly from their Power BI dashboard. So looking at the app, fulfillment managers can see all their pending orders, and if an item for an order is out of stock, they can flag the order for manual review. They then go in and find a substitution product and add it to the order. Then they can remove the out-of-stock product from the order. Once this all goes through, it will be visible in the procurement manager's dashboard so that they can approve the override. So if we take a look at that dashboard, you can see here the order shows up with the details of what the fulfillment manager removed and added. And if the procurement manager is satisfied with these changes, they click the Approve button, and that fires off that user data function to approve the order. So now, let's go back to that sales dashboard and see what's happened since Zava modernized their system. Here you can see average shipping duration has been reduced to 5 days from the original 8 days, and average customer satisfaction has been improved dramatically, all due to those new application development functionality in Microsoft Fabric. Back to you, Shirish.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you. All right, thank you, Pam. I'm going to bring you back to the framework that I started you with. Well, we talked about the last two pillars, but our innovation doesn't stop there. We absolutely are focused on the first two as well. We want to meet the needs of our core cohort of our customers, enterprises. And we want to make sure that they get everything in terms of scalability, resiliency, security, and all that stuff that you have come to expect from operational databases in Azure. The second thing is to meet the needs of developers. I've told you that we want to meet them wherever they are, and every developer these days is an AI developer. So I want to touch on a few important announcements here. First off, SQL Server 2025. We are all SQL Server developers. We know that, right? And so if you haven't heard about it, SQL Server 2025 public preview is out. And folks, if you haven't taken a spin on this one, you should definitely go do this as soon as possible. This is an amazing release. We are infusing AI for the first time into the most battle-tested world-class relational database in SQL. We're also adding a ton of developer-friendly features, JSON and much more. We haven't forgotten about OSS databases. We are absolutely committed, super thrilled in terms of our investments into Postgres. We're infusing a ton of vector indexing capabilities. Oh, and this one is one of my favorites. It's really cool if you haven't tried it. It's called semantic operators. When you think about how you query data, relational stuff, you generally write your SQL queries. It's all cool. But there are two ways to do AI in queries. You either do natural language query language, where you are basically giving a one-shot prompt. You give a prompt, you get the query. But semantic operators really makes it fun because you can infuse and invert the way that you run the queries with AI. So please take a look at it. It's super fun. You will not regret it. And finally, the differentiated non-relational databases, we're investing deeply. We're making Cosmos DB through and through vector search databases for operational requirements. We're adding multi-language support, fuzzy search, hybrid search, world-class DiskN, and indexing, much, much more, in addition to integrations with our Foundry. All of our databases do integrate there. So let me bring it all back home here, right? We've touched on quite a things. I really hope I've succeeded, my team has succeeded, in showing you that Fabric is a unified data platform, and we've done that by bringing in operational databases along with all the awesome analytical capabilities that we've been talking about. And secondly, it's also the place for you to go build your applications, for the next generational intelligent applications. So that's kind of really what we wanted to show you. We have a lot of material here. The documents, videos, tutorials, much more. Please do dive in. There are a ton of sessions still there today, Breakthrough. I really hope you spend some time. Go attend those things. You'll learn quite a bit. Reach us out. We'll answer as many questions as we can. So with that, on behalf of my entire team, I want to take a moment to thank you all for your time. I do want to reflect on what Kevin said at the beginning. Just like what he said, Vienna is a city that combines innovation and tradition. We are the same. We are combining the tradition of operational systems with the innovation of analytical systems. Thank you. I'm going to introduce Kim here.
Thanks, Shirish. Hey, FabCon. Yeah. Can you believe we're only at the start of day 2, and we've already seen so many crazy announcements. And Shirish just showed you how Fabric Database can power all your apps and agents. But just as important is your security and governance setup to make sure that everything you do with those apps and agents is secure, governed, controlled, and you can deploy them broadly in your organizations and to your customers. And we all know AI is transforming the world. It's transforming how we're all working. But this AI transformation, it's happening now. 95% of organizations are already in their development or implementation phase of their AI strategy. And 75% of knowledge workers are already using AI at work. And that number has doubled in the last 6 months alone. And this is amazing because this has allowed us to truly unlock this data culture we've always dreamed of. Whether it's the data professionals who are creating and coding faster than ever, or the analysts and data citizens who are using AI in creative ways to find insights, explore their data. And now line of business leaders can ask and answer their own questions without the need of a data professional for help. And that's amazing, right? But the key here is you need to deploy the access, not only to the AI tools, the AI agents, but also you need broad access to the data to make this come true. And this is a prospect that likely makes many security leaders squirm in their seats, because you know that a single data breach often costs upwards of $10 million. And this risk, it's only expanding. Cybersecurity incidents involving AI increased 56% in the last year. And we hear over and over again from our customers that they do not have the tools to identify this risky usage with AI, with 41% of our customers saying they need tools to identify malicious usage with AI. And the traditional answer would be lock down your network, only trust insiders. But the reality is 63% of data breaches actually stem from those insiders, whether it's inadvertent, negligent, or malicious usage. And Fabric is here to help. And you've seen all this innovation, these amazing AI capabilities, all these cool new tools. But just as important is that key governance strategy to make sure you know who's doing what with the data and they're doing it safely. And when we think about governance, there's this spectrum. There's almost these opposing goals. It feels like these opposing goals, right? On the one end, you have this data culture. You want to foster the data culture, have everybody work with the data. And to do that, you need everybody to have access, and you want to move as quickly as possible. And then on the other end, you need to manage risk. You need to make sure the data is secure. And it really feels like these goals are often opposing.
And this is where Microsoft Fabric and OneLake have really built in those capabilities. And it all starts with the OneLake catalog. The OneLake catalog is the central place for everyone to find their data, govern their data, explore their data, secure their data. And the amazing thing here, it's not just for IT, it's not even just for data professionals. This is for all the business users across your organization. This is the default catalog, not just for the 30 million monthly active users in Power BI, but for all the business users getting their work done day in, day out in Office, whether it's in Teams, Excel, PowerPoint, Copilot Studio, hundreds of other locations. And the amazing thing here is not only can they discover the data, but that security that you set up in OneLake, it flows with the data no matter where the data goes. And so you can trust not only that they can find the data, reuse the data, take that quick action, but that data is governed as it travels. And the OneLake catalog is paired with built-in security in the Fabric platform. This allows you to do everything from isolate that sensitive data using always-on network security, manage granular access at the row, the column, the folder, the item level, so you can make sure the right people have access to the right data. And within Fabric, you can comply with all the strictest data residency standards, whether it's from specific geographies, industry standards, we've got it all. And so now I want to invite Casper on stage. And Casper is going to show us this in action because we talked a lot about security. Come on, Casper.
Thanks, Kim.
Hey, Casper.
Super excited to be here.
So, we talk a lot about security, but what does this actually look like for a data practitioner? What does it look like for a data professional?
Yeah, so let's go ahead and see some cool security demos. So let's go. So Tracy sent me a message on Teams. She really needs a new updated sales report. So I'm going to go to OneLake Catalog and help her out.
This is the OneLake catalog where you can find all the data you have access to. You can govern it. You get recommended action on how to continue to govern it. And now you can actually manage security centrally in the OneLake catalog as well. This is your one-stop shop for all of your data across your organization.
Yeah, exactly. But I know exactly what I need right here. And I can filter by data types. I can see everything here. I'm just going to filter by name because I know what I need. Here I'm going to search for customer sales orders. And I see the lakehouse that I need. And you can see here, it's sensitivity labels. I can see the columns that I need, the tables that I need. And I'm going to open it up directly inside my lakehouse.
And check out that highly confidential label. It looks just like Excel, right? We get those
Exactly.
Those labels.
We know there's highly confidential data, and here we need to be secure with it. And I have 3 tables, city, date, and fact sales, and some folders pointing to a secure ADLS behind a firewall. And I'm using workspace identities to connect the data directly in here. Now, I have a CSV file, and with just 2 clicks, press the load, the data is loaded into my lakehouse. And the data is here very quickly, and we can see new columns here. But
super easy, but I noticed something here. Look at that data protection risk detected. What's that?
Exactly. So a DLP policy got triggered that somebody uploaded credit card information to my lakehouse. We allow it, but to mitigate this risk, I'm going to create OneLake security. And I'm going to do 2 things here. I'm going to make sure that when Tracy looks at my data, she can only see the customers that she's allowed to see. So I'm going to create row-level security. I'm going to write a quick SQL query that filters the data for just the customers that she's allowed to see. And I'm, of course, going to make sure that she's part of this role. So whenever she looks at this data in the lake, with whatever workload, she only sees the data she's allowed to see. And I'm also going to create a column-level security for Ben, our data engineer, to make sure that he can only see the columns he's allowed to see. He cannot see that credit card information we just uploaded, so we're going to make sure that it's going to happen here. The next thing that I'm doing, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to configure outbound access protection. This makes sure that when someone is using Spark, he cannot write data anywhere outside of Fabric and circumvent the sensitivity labels.
You do not want people taking those credit card numbers out of Fabric, right? That's awesome.
Exactly. So now I'm ready. I'm going to create this report.
There's that label again. It flows with the data, right? No matter where you're using it, that label flows with it.
So now I've created this report, and the label is here. And I have access to all the data because I'm the creator.
You're seeing everything.
I'm seeing everything.
Okay.
You can see the sales amount column here. You can see all the customers. But as soon as I share this report with Tracy, we know she's not happy.
She wants the credit card numbers, right? And the cool thing here is the OneLake catalog, it's available in Teams as well, so you can share that data, you can chat, go to your meetings, work with the OneLake catalog content directly in Teams. And she's opening it up in Teams. And again, that highly confidential label flows, so those policies still apply, no matter where those business users are working, wherever they're getting their work done.
And see, there's nothing she can do with this data, because it's, again, the highly confidential label is applied here. And you can see she only sees one data for one customer. And she wants to see more, but she's not allowed to. But she's crafty, she's smart. She's going to use Copilot to get around this data.
We can trick the AI, right?
We can trick the AI. She's going to ask, give me the top customers. But unfortunately for her, it doesn't work. She only sees the customers she's allowed to see. But she's going to explicitly ask for customers, and she's going to even shout at Copilot.
Yes.
Not going to work.
This is awesome, because those row-level, column-level security rules you applied, it flows with you everywhere, no matter where you're accessing the data.
It flows with you everywhere, and again, it doesn't work.
That's awesome.
But, exactly. But she has friends. She has friends. They can write code.
Data engineers, right?
They can write code. So we're going to try to get to that same data using SQL.
Yes.
I'm going to do select star from the table and hoping that credit card information is going to show up.
No credit card numbers.
No credit card information. Even though we warned him,
yep.
When you actually write the code and specifically ask for this data, for these columns, it won't work. But he says, I can write code, I can do anything.
Yes.
So he's going to try it anyway.
He's, again, going to explicitly ask for the credit card numbers. This is a data engineer, right?
Doesn't work.
Nope.
Again, the same OneLake security.
No matter where you go, what engine you use, still working.
So again, he thinks, well, I tried SQL. Let me go do Spark, right?
Spark.
Because with Spark, I can do anything.
Yes.
And he's going to write this data into a data frame, and he's confident it will show up. Again, doesn't work. No credit card information.
This is where this was a shortcut, right? Maybe he can take the data out of the shortcut and go somewhere else with it.
He now seen, or anywhere there's this MIP label applied, and he wants to get around it, so he wants to write that data out to an S3 bucket outside. But it doesn't work.
Outbound access protection, yes. OK, but
yeah, we have one more trick up our sleeves. Excel always works.
We all love Excel, right?
So here, Ben is going to use
the OneLake catalog. It's here too. You can find all your data, explore it directly here, connect to the data, and this one's not highly confidential. So here's the place we can get
very happy,
it, right?
no sensitivity label. But as soon as we connect to that same data set, the sensitivity label is applied to Excel too.
It travels with the data. Again, even to Excel. Even when I leave Fabric and I go into Excel, that data
nothing you can do with it. But he's going to try to get to that credit card information here. Is it going to work?
No.
It doesn't work.
This is awesome. So, Casper, you showed us the OneLake catalog. You found the data. We explored the data in all the different engines. Yeah. Security all in one place.
So we really want more and more people to be able to do more with data, but in a governed and secure way.
Yes.
At every step.
Yes. OK, Casper, hang tight. Hang out over there. I'm going to recap. He's going to come back. Don't worry. So we just showed a lot. So I'm going to recap what we just saw here. First, we saw Casper show the OneLake catalog, where you can find all the data you're looking for. This is the trusted catalog for over 230,000 organizations worldwide. And this is, I said it's across Office, it's across Power BI. And the amazing thing here for business users is it makes their lives easier, because they can discover the data, they get the most up-to-date, refreshed data, but also the security and row-level security, column-level security, and those information protection labels, they apply no matter where they work. So this is great for business users and great for admins and data professionals. Now generally available, we're super excited to announce the Govern tab in the OneLake catalog. This is the place where you can take corrective action. You can see what's going on in your tenant. You can make sure the right people are doing the right things with your data. So the other thing you saw is OneLake Security, which is rolling out in the next couple weeks, so you will start to see it in your Fabric tenant soon. And this is going to allow you to define row, column, folder, item-level security once centrally in OneLake. And then no matter where you access the data, you can trust that those rules are applied. And now you can manage that security centrally all in one place in the OneLake catalog. So if you haven't given OneLake Security a try in the private preview, just stay tuned. It's coming very soon, public, to everybody. And it's not just about Fabric, right? It's about your broader ecosystem. Your users are using all kinds of products across Office, inside and outside of the Microsoft ecosystem. And this is really where Purview comes in. And we mentioned those highly confidential labels. This information protection capability, this is the capability probably your company's already using to govern your Microsoft Office tenant. And so now you can use that as well in Fabric to manage access restriction with Purview labels. That's now generally available. And Purview data loss prevention policies. So we've got a ton of announcements this week on that. These are a couple examples. And you also saw how we have security just built into the platform. And for a while now, we've had tenant-level security, right? Whether it's securing the data with Microsoft Entra, this really allows anybody authenticating with Fabric, you can check that they are who they say they are, whether it's their identity, location, risk score. We also have Azure Private Link that allows you to connect to the most secure data through Microsoft's own private network. And of course, Fabric is secure by default. Everything's encrypted by default, so you can trust that your data is safe. But we've heard your feedback. You want more. You need more control over the security in Fabric. And that is why I'm super excited to announce all the workspace-level security controls we've added to Fabric. Yeah. You've been asking for this. We are here to tell you all of this is available now or very, very soon. Outbound trusted workspace access, Azure Private Link at the workspace level, outbound access protection for Spark, customer managed keys, workspace IP filtering. So this allows you to manage that level of security at the project level, at the workspace level, so you can change what security policies you're going to have depending on the amount of isolation you need for that project. OK, so I'm going to bring Casper back. Come on back. So Casper, you showed us the data practitioner, the business user, what they see. Yep. But many of you here have been asking, what's in it for me, the admin, right? Make my job easier, make my life easier. So what do we have?
Yeah, so let's just take a quick look at what an admin would see. What would be the admin journey in the whole story? So let's go. So here, I come in the office this morning, and I get an email notification. Somebody uploaded credit card information to my lakehouse.
That's that alert we saw earlier. So not only do we alert the data practitioner, we alert the admin.
Exactly. So awesome. I know what's going on, but I want to check out what happened here. So I'm going to be a detective and figure out what's going on with this workspace. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going into admin monitoring. I'm going to feature users and adoption report. And I filtered on the report that I know Ben is working on. And immediately we can see everything that's going on, who he's been working with. So we see he's working with Patrick, you might know him, Tracy, Ben, and we can see all the activities that are going on in this workspace. So we can see exactly what's going on. Nothing fishy here.
Okay. Nothing too bad, but we know there's credit card numbers,
We're going to go on, yeah, because I want to make sure that when the sensitivity label is being applied, we actually apply sensitivity labels. And we have this right available inside of Fabric. And you can see here in our tenants, we need to do more. We need to do a better job. And I can see here, finance is doing 17%, HR is at 50%. We need to do more. We need to have a conversation. But I know Ben, and he's a good guy. We've worked with him for a long time. He's doing the right things. But I'm going to check. I'm going to see what did Ben do in his workspace. And we can see he's at 50% better, not the 90% target that we want him to be. But we can even check at individual items. Are they doing the right things? Are sensitivity labels applied?
The cool thing here also is you can set up a policy to say sensitivity labels are mandatory, so you don't even have to have that conversation. You can enforce it for the whole tenant.
But I want to go deeper. Okay. I want to see exactly what Ben did. And to do this, I am going to go into the audit logs. And the audit logs are hundreds of different types of events. We can see exactly what's going on, what every user is doing inside of the organization. And here I'm just filtering by the particular time range and by the user, Ben.
You can see everything here. This is all the granular activity across Fabric, but this is a lot. This is a difficult investigation, right? Like, look at all these activities. Do I have to manually do this?
So there's many different things here. You can even export this out. We have many amazing examples on GitHub where you can automate this and do all kinds of things. But you can see everything here, including, for example, he created that shortcut to an S3 bucket.
That must be where the credit card numbers are, right?
Exactly. So we know what they're doing. We know even where they're connecting to and what they're doing, and you can take action on it.
Yes.
Now, let's switch gears, because I am now going to be a security admin at my entire tenant, not just the Fabric admin. Now I'm in the security admin in Purview. And here I'm looking at my data across my estate. So Microsoft 365, Microsoft Azure, and AWS.
As much as we like to say all the data's in Fabric, we know the data is everywhere, not just the data, but the activity, right?
So the thing that I'm going to do today is I'm going to look at my insider risk management. An alert has been triggered. Somebody is leaving the company and potentially leaking data. Purview has built up this entire security profile for that user in the organization. Not just the Fabric, but across everything that he's doing. For example, a DLP policy got triggered. Okay.
So you can see SharePoint activity. You can see the person's leaving the company.
He's copying files to USB devices.
Okay.
Asking for credit card information on Copilot. Who could this be?
Okay, this person's leaving the company.
Who could this be? Yeah. Power BI reports, downgrading sensitivity labels, trying to leak out data. We're building up this profile, and I kind of have an idea who this is.
Okay.
Okay.
It's
So
Ben
we're going to
guy.
go one step deeper. We're going to go into DSPM for AI to figure out what questions they've been asking Copilot, what risky questions. So you can create a policy that allows you to trigger risky events inside of DSPM for AI. And you can see everything in Power BI and Copilot is getting triggered here. And let's see what Tracy's been up to, because I think I know who it is.
Yes.
So I'm going to look here, and we can see Tracy's been busy. It triggered a lot of interesting, nefarious Copilot prompts. Let's see what she's been doing. And here we can see she's been
Looking for
asking
credit card
for
numbers.
customers she doesn't have access to and credit card information. We probably have a nice conversation with her.
Yes.
Maybe not nice.
Thank you so much, Casper. You showed us just everything that we're doing to help make the admins' lives easier, to help them sleep at night.
Exactly.
Right?
And you know the best thing about all of these in the admin, everything is available for you right now to use. Even though you might not know it, they're all there right now for you to use.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so
Casper.
much.
So I just want to recap what we just saw here. First of all, administration in Fabric gives you everything you need to monitor usage and adoption. We've got those pre-built reports for you. We're super excited that we launched this week OneLake Diagnostics that lets you drill into all the details of usage at the workspace level for your OneLake. And with those Purview audit capabilities, which is available at no additional cost on top of Fabric, you can drill into the granular details of who's doing what across your Fabric tenant. And we know it's not just about Fabric, because your data estate, your entire tenant, your users are using more than just Fabric, right? You have data across AWS and GCP. They're using Office. They're using SharePoint, OneDrive. And this is really where Purview comes in. Purview Insider Risk Management allows you to develop this picture of your users and what they're doing and identify that risky usage, not just in Fabric, but across your entire estate. And really exciting is this Purview Data Security Posture Management for AI. And this allows you to track risky prompts, not just for Power BI Copilot, but also all of your Copilot usage across Microsoft 365. This, paired with the Purview Unified Data Catalog, allows you to bring the metadata in from the OneLake catalog into the Purview Unified Catalog and connect that with other catalogs, other data set sources that are not in Fabric, so you can get a full picture of your data estate. Now, Fabric also covers the strictest data residency requirements. We're in over 37 regions. We've got all the standards you need across industries, across geos, whether it's HIPAA, GDPR, EUDB, and more. So there was a lot here. We covered a lot. I would highly recommend you check out our Fabric security white paper. This is a huge document that Casper and our team wrote, where it goes into every detail of strategies you can take and implementation details for how to deploy Fabric safely to your organization. And if you want more, we have a ton more sessions. These are all sessions that haven't happened yet in the conference, including Casper's session later today, Fabric Security, Everything You Need to Know. So with that, I'm super excited to announce Nelly, who's going to show you how you can do more with data agents. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Today, I'm super excited to talk to you about some of the latest updates for data agents in Fabric. And for those of you who don't know what a data agent is, you can think of it as a virtual analyst, as a domain expert on your data. And you can build these custom agents, these experts, on your data and essentially make your data into enterprise knowledge. And then you can serve this knowledge into applications, serve it for your end users, and also give it to downstream agents that can consume it. All right, so I have three major announcements I want to talk about today. But before we dive into a demo, let's talk about them. So the first one, which is super exciting, is that data agents now support mirrored data sources. And this is exciting and powerful because it allows you to build agents on data not just in OneLake, but data that OneLake can reach. For example, this enables you to access data and build and reasoning agents on top of data in Snowflake, in Databricks, SQL Server, Azure SQL, and many, many more sources. Secondly, we're also streamlining the way that you can build and operationalize agents in Fabric, essentially enable agent ops. So thanks to the new support and integration with Fabric source control, essentially Git integration, as well as the integration with deployment pipelines, you can now transition and stage your changes in your agents from development to test to production environments, which is also super powerful. And last but not least, you can now access data agents from outside of Fabric thanks to our public endpoints. And this essentially enables you to embed data agents in your custom applications. So we're starting with the OpenAI APIs, and you're going to see a lot more around this in the coming months. But this really opens up for you to consume data agents in a broad set of scenarios. But enough talking about this. Let's look at these updates in a demo. We're in a Fabric workspace, and we're going to create a data agent from scratch. So all we have to do is to go ahead and create an item. We're going to give it a name. And in this case, I want to create a customer expert. I'm going to call it a customer analyst. And I want to configure this analyst on top of a multitude of sources. And oftentimes, I don't have all my data in one place. But in this case, I want to start with some customer data. And this customer data sits in Azure Databricks. And thanks to the interoperability of OneLake in Fabric, we can now access this data from Databricks. So here I'm in an Azure Databricks workspace. I have Unity Catalog. Just want to kind of show you the data. It's some customer data. It contains details about the customers. Let's look at some of the tables here. Customer details. We have product details and order and sales information. So I want to build a reasoning agent in Fabric, and I want this to be one of the sources. And it's super easy. Thanks to the mirror data source that I already set up for this, I simply have to go and add this just like any other source in Fabric, and I can seamlessly now configure this agent on top of this data. So one of the first things I want to do is that I want to focus my agent. I want to say, hey, I want you to just focus on the customer data in this data, product data, and maybe some of our internet sales and the counts, right? And this is a great way to start kind of configuring your agent and focusing it. As a next step, I can just immediately start asking questions on top of this data. It uses existing tools that the data agent has. So I'm going to ask it to list me the top customers based on the number of orders. And now the data agent is taking my question, and you can see that in real time, it's streaming me the results of its steps, the queries that it's generating on top of that mirrored database from Databricks, right? And giving me the results back. So in this way, I can not only build the trust as the creator, but I can also see which tools it used and the reasoning steps it took. So this is great. But one of the superpowers of data agents is that you can reason across many different sources. So I'm going to go ahead and add another source. I'm going to add my semantic model. And this semantic model contains customer loyalty data. So I'm going to go ahead and add it. In a similar way, I want to, select the tables that I want it to be able to focus on. But I'm going to add another source. Now I want to add an event house. And this event house contains real-time package delivery information. And again, I'm going to go ahead and configure my agent and select which tables I want it to select. Now, let's get into the setup. Because as a creator, as I'm adding these sources, I also have to instruct my agent. And think of this like you're kind of instructing and contextualizing a new team member. What would you tell a new person in the team what they need to know about this data, how to retrieve the data, how to think about these different sources? Think about it that way. And now with the new updated Markdown editor that you're seeing here, which is a really good way to structure these instructions for my agent, I can add these instructions. I can programmatically generate these markdown files, right? And I can really collaborate over these instructions for my agents. But there's a new update here. We've also added data source instructions, and these are super powerful because these let me tell per data source how I want the data to be retrieved. If I want to influence the query generation, this is where I put those instructions, right? And I have this per data source. But for the semantic model, I simply have to do this on the semantic model itself, on the prep for AI. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and ask a really interesting question now. And this question I picked because it's actually forcing the agent to go across all 3 different sources. So first, this agent has to go against the semantic model to retrieve the names of the top loyalty customers. And then the agent has to use those names to go to the second source, the lakehouse that we had from Databricks, and get the IDs. And now it can use those IDs to join it with the third source, the event house, to get information about the late deliveries, because that's what I was asking. Give me information about the late deliveries for these top loyalty customers. And every time I ask a question, we always respect the asking user's permissions. As a last question, I also wanted to show off how the agent can reason over the data, not just for generating queries. I asked it to give me some insights. I didn't give it any instructions, just asked it, give me insights about the late deliveries. And you can see that it's listing the most common reasons for late deliveries. It's giving me some trends and other important insights. All right, so one last setup step that I wanted to show you that is also powerful, and we're going to make a change here because I'm going to show you why in a bit, is that for certain questions, maybe more complicated questions, where I do need to be a little bit more guiding to the agent on exactly how to query the data, I can also provide few-shot examples, or example queries as we call them here. And as I make these changes, everything that's connected to my GitHub repo I can now commit. So all of the changes that I made through the source control integration and CI/CD integration with Fabric, I can just push those changes to my GitHub repo. And this is really great if you're collaborating and building these agents with a team of people in your organization. So if I simply navigate to my GitHub repo, go into the data agent folder for this particular item, I look at, for example, the different data sources, you can see that all the changes that I made are in Git, and I can see the files. I can edit these files, and I can push the changes back. So this is super powerful for enabling that agent ops inside of Fabric. And once I'm happy with all my changes, let's say I tested this, evaluated it, and I'm super happy with it, I go ahead and publish. And here, I'm going to give it a rich description, because this helps downstream agents and systems to find my data agent, find the right one, right? So I'm going to go ahead and publish this. And now I want to walk you through a number of ways in which you can consume the data agent. So here, I'm in Copilot Studio as a maker. I have an agent that I've created, and I want to add the data agent as a connected agent to my agent in Copilot Studio. So we're building a multi-agent system here. I can select from the data agents I have access to, and then once I'm happy with my changes in Copilot Studio, I simply publish this to Teams. And now my end users can use the data agent through this connected agent directly from the Teams interface. So this is one of the consumer experiences where you can imagine end users would use this. Now, the interesting part of this is that, well, I can ask my questions on top of this data that's now turned into enterprise knowledge that I'm serving to other agents. But as I'm asking these questions, the way that the agent I'm interacting with is seeing the data agent is really as another tool. So you see here that it's a Fabric data agent, a data agent MCP server, which should give you a sneak peek of what's going to come in the coming months. And in this way, we can integrate data agents into the rest of the AI agent ecosystem, right? So here is another experience. Now we're in the Power BI standalone Copilot. And here, I can not only converse with the data agent, I can also find the right agents. So it helps me to not only discover the data, but also be able to get the insights directly from this interface across my data in Power BI and in OneLake. And last but not least, if I want to use a data agent from applications, here you're seeing that I'm in VS Code. I'm using an OpenAI client, invoking the public endpoint of the data agent, and issuing my questions and getting the answers. And now I can embed the data agent as part of my custom applications. Thank you. All right, so with this, we do have some other exciting things you can do with data agents. You can use them from Foundry. And in fact, you can build multi-agent systems, pretty cool things, in Foundry. So I want to welcome Marco Casalena on stage to show us what else you can do with data agents.
All right. Thank you very much, Nelly. Now, before we get into all the agent goodness, now, obviously, Nelly, you speak English quite well.
Thank you.
And I know that you also speak Swedish.
Yes.
Imagine if you could speak any language. Let's check this out.
Hello everyone! Ich hoffe, dass du FABCon Europe in Wien genießt. Újdonságok az AI és Fabric témában, tarts velünk! 我期待与您交流，并从您对我们产品的反馈中学习。Have a fantastic dog!
Wow.
Some amazing
pretty
stuff you
terrific.
can do with Foundry pre-built agents. Thank you,
Thank you,
Nelly.
Marco, and lycka till. Good luck.
Thank you. Now, let's say that Nelly only spoke Swedish, and she didn't speak English, and I only speak English. Well, a lot of times when I show this stuff, one of the things that people ask me is, well, can you do this in real time? And the answer is yes.
All right, Nelly, now you can't see this, but I am going to go to language and speech and turn on the interpreter. If we look at my settings, we can see that I am set to translate to English and to simulate the voice. And now you may speak any language you choose. So, Nelly, tell me about this conference.
Hej Marco, det är så himla kul att se dig igen. Jag är väldigt glad. Marco. It's so much fun to see you again. I'm very happy to meet all of you here at this conference and to be a part of sharing the latest news about our technical products. This conference is a perfect opportunity to meet, not just to follow the latest developments, but also to exchange ideas and learn from each other.
So that is real-time translation in your own voice in Teams. Now let me roll this back for a second. How does this thing work? Now this is using Azure APIs underneath the scenes, and in fact those Azure APIs are also available to you, and you can integrate them into your contact center and stuff like that. But if you look at how this worked, well, I set my interpreter to translate for me in English, but at no point did I tell it that Nelly was going to speak Swedish. So the first thing that it does, it uses the Auto Language ID API, and it figures out what language she's speaking. From that point forward, so that's the initial delay. Now, for those of you who are Star Trek fans, well, you know, when you watch Star Trek, as soon as the Klingon opens his mouth, he's speaking English, or whatever language you speak. It doesn't really work that way. There is a delay. There will be a delay, in large part due to the differing word orders between different languages. The average delay time now for this translation is 3.95 seconds, and that is notable because that is also the average delay time for an expert human simultaneous translator. So it can translate just about as fast as a human can. Now, the accuracy may not be quite as good as a human. A human can do usually 95% accuracy. This is probably about 85%. But I tell you, I use this thing all the time, and it definitely gets the point across. It's super handy. So this is available to you in Teams now. This is now available to our customers, and you can use it. And the last thing before we get to the agents, the way that we interact with AI is about to change due to these real-time models. So I'm going to switch this to GPT Real-Time. This is the GA version of GPT Real-Time that just came out. Hey, can you hear me over there? Guess you can't. All right. Well, that's okay. We'll visit him later because we're going to have another interaction with him. So we're having a bit of network issues, but in any case, this is a voice interface that you can now also find in Copilot. So let's go to the agents. Now, Nelly did me a favor. She built for me this Fabric Data Agent. And as she mentioned, one of the great advantages of this Fabric Data Agent is that it provides a conversational interface over your data. So that's great. But you know what the real value of this thing is providing data to downstream agents. So here is an agent that I have built in Foundry. And this agent is linked to her Fabric Data Agent. Now, I ran this in advance because it can take a moment and hope for the best. All right, here we go. Now, what this is going to do, it is now grounding itself to data in Fabric. It's using that data agent that Nelly built. And this is a good thing. See, the mistake that I see a lot of folks making is that they try to ground each individual agent to data. They make every agent do its own querying. That is not wonderful. You don't want to do that. Because if you think about what Nelly did when she set up this data agent, there's a lot of logic in there about the schema, about the metadata that she gave it, about the examples that she gave it. And you don't want to reproduce that for every agent that you're doing. So by having an atomic data agent like this, it allows you to isolate the data access and provide that data to downstream agents. And now we do have a response. The output of this agent is actually meant to be the input to another agent, which is a computer use agent. So I'm going to fire this guy up over here. Now let's say that I have this delivery problem and there's a late delivery and I need to file a grievance with the delivery company. But there is no way for my agent to do that programmatically. This computer use agent can use an entire computer over here. And so, here we go. He's waking up now. It says navigating to the grievance form URL. So this is going to use the browser here, but it actually can use any application on this computer. So when you're in a situation where you actually have to have it use an application or use the web, then this computer use agent is a great solution for that. It's not a replacement for RPA. So you're not going to ditch your Power Automate or your UiPath or anything like that. It's great for situations where you expect the screens or the applications to be constantly changing, where it's going to need to plan and adapt on the fly. That's what this computer use agent is all about. So that was a 3-agent set that I built over there. Now, I built another set of agents over here. Now, part of my job is that I often get these questionnaires. I work with a lot of customers and a lot of analysts, and they send me these big, giant spreadsheets of questionnaires. So just a few weeks ago, I decided I was going to automate this part of my job. I built myself a questionnaire agent system. And what I can do with it is I can feed it an entire Excel spreadsheet of this questionnaire, and it will fill out the whole thing, soup to nuts, as we say in the US. So now over here, let's see, I do have it. I guess I don't have it running now. Okay, well, I'm going to pull that up, but while I'm waiting, now I think what's more interesting than the agent itself is how I built it. So let's take a look at how I built this thing. Now I have 2 versions of this agent, actually. I have one that is grounded to the web, and I have one that's grounded to Fabric. And the way that I built it is with structured vibe coding. Now, you think of vibe coding, and you think, you just type some stuff in the little chat interface over here, and it writes that code. That's not really how you want to do it, because you lose the provenance of your code. This stuff in the chat area is ephemeral. It goes away. It's not saved. And that now is where your code is coming from. You want to keep that stuff. So when we talk about structured vibe coding, it starts with a spec. Now, here is the original spec that I wrote for this thing. And so this spec calls out that there are going to be 3 agents in here. There's a question answerer, and at least in the web version, there's an answer checker and a link checker. So this is what's called a maker-checker pattern. So the question answerer makes the answer, and then I have some checkers that make sure that that answer is correct. And in this spec, and I wrote the spec myself, in this spec, I define what each of the agents do, and then I define the workflow, if I give it a direct question or if I import it from Excel. So I define this, and I feed that to GitHub Copilot. Now, I said I made a Fabric variant of it. How did I do that? Well, I made another spec. And I said, here are the Fabric modifications that I want to make so that this question answerer can now ground itself to Fabric instead. And so with this spec, it grounded itself to Fabric. Now, from that, and here is the actual agent itself, so it does come up over here. From that, it kind of worked. So from my specs, right out of the gate, it looked like this, and it kind of worked, but there were some issues, and I needed to fix those issues. To fix those issues, I used the issue system that's built into GitHub. But take a look at this. Look at all these little Copilot icons over here. What's that about? Now, let me pick one of these things. Let's see. OK, here we go. So here's one of the bugs that I had. So one of the bugs was that, as you can see over here, there was a time when if I gave it a question in the question box, it would sometimes break right in the middle of a word. And I didn't like that, so I gave it a screenshot, and I said, OK, this is not how this should work. It should not break in the middle of a word. And I assigned it to Copilot. Copilot picked it up, and it made a branch. So it made a branch, in this case, called Copilot Fix34. And in that branch, it made this code change. And it did this asynchronously in the background. So while I was doing something else, this was working on my issues. When it's done, and I think I do actually have a pending pull request to me, so this is the GitHub pull requests extension to VS Code. This is key if you're working with Copilot. So now I actually filed a few more bugs yesterday, and Copilot has made these code changes, and if I press this little arrow button over here, it will get this pull request. So these are pull requests to me from Copilot. This is Copilot saying to me, hey, I fixed your bug, here it is. So now I can just sync this over, verify that indeed the problem is solved, mark it ready for review, merge and commit, and the issue is solved. Moreover, though, when I did this, I mean, if you think of all these issues that I had over here, I can actually do these simultaneously. So I would assign these issues to Copilot 3 or 4 at a shot, and that would spawn multiple agents working on multiple different issues. I had a team of development agents working for me in the background, and all I had to do was manage them. As they come up with these pull requests, as they come up with these fixes, then I could handle those things and manage them. So this is structured vibe coding. It starts with a spec. It continues by using the issue system that's built into GitHub. And, by the way, now public, so I can tell you about it, this is GitHub Spec Kit. And so now, increasingly, as we gear our tools towards structured vibe coding, we're starting to provide tools not just to consume the spec, but to help you write the spec. Spec Kit is a plugin to GitHub Copilot that allows you to do things like /specify. With /specify, I can actually begin a spec like this, and it will help me interactively write that spec. So you can look for more of these kinds of structured vibe coding tools coming to a VS Code and GitHub Copilot near you. Now, we're going to go back to our real time now. This here is the Hera spacecraft. In 2021, NASA launched a mission to the Didymos asteroid. And in 2023, they crashed the DART spacecraft into that asteroid. This spacecraft is built by ESA, the European Space Agency. And it was sent just last year to monitor the Didymos asteroid, in part to determine how much did we deflect it, because the idea here is planetary defense. As these asteroids might be heading towards Earth, can we deflect it enough so that it'll miss Earth? So this is a site that is built by our partners Terramater and Impact AI right here in Vienna. But what's really cool about it is this is linked to the live data from the spacecraft. And moreover, I can talk to this spacecraft. Hey, can you hear me over there? Seems like she's talking, but the audio's not coming up over here. All right, well, we're going to use the chat because I'm having many fails today. Hey, how far are you from Earth right now? Ah, cool. This is what she's trying to say. Can you tell me about the current temperature of the spacecraft? So now, what's happening here, let me turn off the audio on this. What's happening here, now unfortunately the audio wasn't working here because you can actually talk to this. And by the way, you all can try this. This is Hera.space. And this is the coolest use of Azure AI Foundry currently in existence. But what you see on the screen, now here I'm talking to a spacecraft in real time, but look at the interactivity of this. When I asked it about the temperature, it didn't just tell me what the current temperature is. It actually showed me a graph of the temperature. When I asked it where it was with respect to Earth, it showed me where it was in orbit right now. It's outside Mars orbit right now. So it's not just talking to me, it's actually interacting with me. So this is a very cool usage of Azure AI Foundry. It can speak in terms of a professional. It can speak in terms of a 5-year-old. It can speak many different languages. And although it didn't work today, it most certainly does talk. So I would recommend you all try this stuff. That is what you can do with AI Foundry. And this is really the future of how AI interfaces will work in the next couple of years. You'll see more and more that you'll be talking to them, and they will be interactive in this way. So now, production team, thank you. So to wrap it up, when you put Azure AI Foundry and Fabric together, you get some fabulous results. And you can really help that along by using the tools that we're now providing in GitHub and GitHub Copilot and VS Code. Now, here are some places that you can learn more about Foundry. If you want to try Foundry itself, that has a very simple URL. That is ai.azure.com. And you can also explore the Fabric data agents that Nelly built here today. And finally, we do have a number more sessions about how Foundry and Fabric come together. I would call out in particular this first one here, which is tomorrow, with Farzad Soonawalla, powering Azure AI agents with AI search, because you can use AI search to index the structured and the unstructured data to power those agents with the data that they need. So thank you all very much. And now I'd like to pass it back to Jessica Hawk to finish up. Jessica.
Thank you. Thanks, Marco. I get to hang out with some pretty cool people all the time, guys. I'm not going to lie. All right, well, Marco likes to mess with me sometimes. I walked out on stage in Paris in a moment like this, and he had me translated into French, which he did not tell me he was going to do beforehand. It's a little bit of a parlor trick that he likes to do. But hopefully that as you head back to your teams and you start thinking about everything that it takes to become an AI-first operation, you're feeling like you're on your journey to becoming Frontier. And the one thing I really hope you took away from all of this is, regardless of what part of the software making chain you work or focus on, Microsoft has a solution for all the challenges and all the opportunities that come with the AI era. So I know you're ambitious. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. So thank you for coming. Thank you for being part of Microsoft's biggest skilling event in Europe, full stop. We have over 50,000 Fabric certifications already in the ecosystem. You saw Arun talk about that yesterday, so we hope that you guys are going to keep adding to that number. There's a very full day ahead, and I'm not trying to add to your plate, but please do visit the expo and get hands-on. Ask the experts. Fun fact, guys, over 3,000 people showed up at the Ask the Experts booth at our last FabCon. They truly do want to hear from you, so don't be shy. Get in there and ask your hardest questions. Be sure to try to trip them up. Let me know if you do. Look for Arun in particular. And speaking of, please make sure you go to the Women in Data panel today, the luncheon, if you're able to. 3 incredible people who I happen to work with every day. Wangui, she's on my team. Kim Manis needs no introduction. And Priya on the databases team. Come and listen and learn from them. And do not forget the Power Hour. I don't know why they're asking me to say this. Of course, everybody's coming to the Power Hour. But here's the fun part. It's marketing against engineering tonight. So Arun, you look out, man. We're coming. We're coming. All right, guys, thank you so much for hosting us. Please have a wonderful day. You've been incredible. Have an awesome FabCon.